a minute.
Yes.
Shall we start with a deep breath?
Let's start with a deep breath. Come
on. So welcome everybody, I'm Nicola Chan, this is Waishee Radio, and my special guest today, I'm assuming you are over this side because you are on my camera, is Kerry O'Sullivan. Yay!
Hello, you right?
So I really wanted to get Kerry on this show for a long time because Kerry's actually been a big part of my life and my journey for kind of since June, July 2020, all the way up until now. And she will continue to be in my life, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I actually had only heard of Kerry's story right in the very beginning. And immediately then I knew I wanted to work with her and have her in my life. And so this is Kerry's opportunity to share her story with anyone else who hasn't met Kerry yet. And we can dive into some questions and find out what a goddess is, because Kerry is a leader of goddesses.
I don't think I look very goddessy today. I'm not in my full goddess today, but I am. I'm still a goddess. Exactly, I'm still a goddess.
Always a goddess.
I've got my goddess cup. So
there you go. Yeah. And one of the things Kerry teaches us anyway is to show up as your true self. So however you are in this moment in time, that is welcome and accepted. So there we are. So totally. Kerry, if you'd like to introduce yourself, and I'd love to know a little bit about your story and what got you to where you are now.
Oh, blah, how long have you got? Well, I'll give you a little intro first. So my name's Kerry O'Sullivan, and I call myself the Energy Alignment and Tantric Embodiment Goddess is my new title. I do change it quite a lot. And I empower sort of busy women who have really lost that connection to themselves and actually lost connection to life as well. And I run lots and lots of programs, different types of programs, my Goddess Awakening program and couples ones as well I do. And I show these beautiful goddesses how to connect into who they truly, truly are, how they can connect into their truth, into their sexual energy. And that's the stuff that really lights me up and blows my mind, because it's so powerful, and I'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. But when we tap into that sexual energy, into that life force energy, what we do is we heal ourselves from the inside. We can connect into our past, into the present, and into the person that like we really want to be in the world, and that's the stuff that really truly lights me up. So my story, because I talk about this so often, okay, you kind of forget, like it's important to have a bit of my backstory. But the summary version of it is that 4 years ago, I left my job. So I used to work in media, and I loved my job, but I was on the kind of hamster wheel, constantly going all the time, and never really jumping off, because I felt that that's what I loved. I loved to be busy all the time, loved to feel stress. So to say I love stress, because it actually, I used to come out with stuff like that because I thought that that's what I wanted in my life. And it was only when I stopped and I left the corporate world and went into like nothingness, I suppose, in a way, like silence, and I started meditating, and I joined a teacher, did some meditation, and it was only when I started to like quieten my mind that I realized how busy it was. And there was so much that I used to say and tell myself that at the beginning it was just a big like mess of noise, and it was really, really hard to listen to. So when I first started listening, I had lots of things come up, and especially around sex. Like so much stuff was coming up around sex and about who I wanted to be and how I wanted to unleash this person inside of me. And I had all this raging like hormones and sexual energy, and I was like, what am I going to do with this? Like, it totally threw me off. And I actually spoke to my meditation teacher. I was like, is this normal for me to feel like this for meditation? I mean, gee, no wonder people love it, you know. It's a bit bad. But as that all kind of filtered down and went from like crazy into like a bit more grounded, I started to kind of get memories and flashbacks of things that happened to me in my past. And that was the stuff that was really, really like knocked me off my perch, because I had no idea, like consciously for my whole life, that this stuff had actually even happened to me. And obviously I must have been aware about it in a subconscious level, but I wasn't aware of it consciously, and it's something that I totally suppressed. So throughout my life I'd been through sort of sexual trauma and stuff like that, and it was really hard when it all came back to kind of be dealt with. And so through I joined a program called the Energy Alignment Method, And we started to kind of go through like, okay, so these are the memories that are coming up, but how's that making you feel now? So it wasn't about dragging up every detail about what happened and where I was, who it was with. It was about how's it making you feel now? And I had so much shame, so much disgust around my body and how I connected with myself and how I felt about myself. And that all came up through this work. And then as I went further into the journey, that was like a 10-month journey. I then, someone recommended I went to see a tantric massage practitioner. And I'd never even heard of Tantra massage. And it's a massage where you use sexual energy to heal the body, and you use sexual energy to help you release and let go of what's in your body, and what's that trauma and things like that are in you, to like release and let go. And it was phenomenal. Like, I couldn't believe when I went for this massage, it was 4 hours long, and I was like, how am I going to be somewhere for 4 hours and receive this massage? And it is using pleasure and how you can connect to that place of bliss and pleasure, which allows your body to completely surrender and let go of what's in the way. And so I was so blown away. I was like, I need to train up in this, because I need to be able to help other women that have gone through trauma. And it's not just through sexual trauma, women that have gone through birth trauma and any type of trauma. We hold so much of it, especially in our pussies or in our yonis. You know, that is where I held so much, and I had a complete disconnect. And I never knew that the fact that I had no connection with my, vagina, pussy, vulva, whatever you want to call it, I had no connection with her at all. And I didn't realize that was a problem, because we don't talk about this stuff, do we? So through this whole exploration of myself, I realized,
I just want to highlight on that point that there'll be people listening who have never heard of this stuff before and haven't even heard those words even on this show before, and can feel completely disconnected to their body. But in a way, we are even taught that by society, even as women, and we have our menstrual cycle, our periods every month, and yet we have to hide it away, and we're not even able to just be honest and open about things that we're going through.
Yeah, and I'm obviously now I'm in this field, and I even, I talk quite openly about sex now, sexual energy, and I was just saying this to Mark earlier. All I seem to get at the moment this week is just people sending me dick pics on bloody Facebook, feeling like because I talk about sex must mean I want to get that sort of thing in my messenger. And it's like, no, it isn't about sex. It isn't about someone thinking it's okay to send me stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? What it's about is about you connecting into yourself and into life energy. And I think when people hear the word sexual energy, they think, oh, I don't have sex, this has got nothing to do with me, I don't really want to have anything to do with that, when it's so much more. And it's not even about sex itself, it's about connection. I get quite passionate about it.
Can you also, while you're on that part, can you also talk about the part of the body that you call the hara and the sexual energy? Because as you said, it may not even be about sex, but this is the place that we birth stuff. So we birth our children, we birth our creative ideas.
Yeah, so for me, like the whole so the hara area is kind of that whole area doesn't just incorporate your genitals, it also incorporates the whole of your kind of bottom part underneath your belly, really, that whole sense. And so for a lot of people, they may have like lower back problems and things. I think it's like lower back trouble. Like I used to have that, but actually it was just complete tension and resistance that I had around this part of my body. So sexual energy is birthed through that area, and it's also where your sacral chakra is. And it's all linked to creativity and pleasure. So when I use sexual energy without connecting to pleasure or self-pleasuring, I use it just by connecting to it energetically. So if I want to connect to my creativity and I want to write some really good posts, or I'm writing my book at the moment, I'll always make sure that is one of the first things I do, is connect to my sexual energy, because it's how we were brought into the world. The energy is so powerful that we can create children with it, and we can birth children through that area of our bodies. And we can manifest like the life that we really desire through connecting into that energy. But I know that there's so much fear associated with that, because it is so powerful. This is the thing. And so when you connect into that energy, you can have orgasms without even touching yourself, because the energy is so powerful. And it might feel like a little bit crazy and woo-woo for some people listening, but it totally is. And I think when I do workshops and stuff like that with people, and I just get them to even acknowledge, like, what is your relationship with that part of your body? And even that question can feel really awkward and feel like, how can I not even know? Like, how can I not even know what my relationship is? Because I've never even considered it. I never considered it. You know, I never thought to look at myself in the mirror or even study myself or understand the shape or how it looks or how I like it to look. You know, I've never really given it much thought.
It's the same with other parts of our body as well, isn't it? Like a lot of people say that they feel their intuition in their gut, like they have a gut instinct, and they may use those words and still be quite heady and not realize that it actually is their gut energy that's like driving them towards a certain direction. So
Yeah, and
just explain a little bit about energy as well.
I was just going to say, as you know, in the program, so people use their heads or people use their hearts, but when you're a goddess, you use your pussy for for decisions, because she also has a voice, doesn't she? She also tells you what she wants. So yeah, in terms of energy, so I am an energy worker. I work in the world of energy, and really what it means is being aware of the fact that you are not just a physical being, and that there's energy that moves all around your body. And when we don't connect to it, what happens is it becomes stagnant, and that's how we get blockages in our body. So if you're feeling like, sometimes we say, oh, I've got a really like blockage in my throat, or I feel like I'm going to be sick, or I've got a headache, or I've got a bellyache, whatever it is, it's all energy, and we can move that, we can change it just by tapping into it, either through breath work, either through doing something like the energy alignment method. Like, there's loads of ways that we can connect to this energy, but the first step is actually being aware of it. So when we, you know, when I say to people, you're an energetic being, they're like, what do you mean? And it's like connecting into that piece around how do I feel is sometimes one of the biggest things, because we spend so much of our life in our head, and it's all about the thoughts that are coming in and things like that, but that's all energy too, yeah. But the feeling of how I feel sometimes can be really hard, because there's a huge disconnect between your head and your heart.
Which is why a lot of people don't allow themselves to feel their emotions. It may be that you have an emotion, and before it actually touches you, you're then reaching for something, whether it's social media, a drink,
yeah.
exercise, whatever it is that's going to distract you from sitting in and feeling that emotion.
Yeah, and that's where, so a lot of the work that I do is I call it embodiment work, and it's about bringing you into your body and allowing yourself to feel it, but not just feel like the emotions that are good, like the happy emotions. Like, a lot of the time I found this with a lot of the work that I've done in the past, there's all this big emphasis on trying to make yourself feel better, trying to stop yourself from feeling angry, stop yourself from feeling frustrated, get rid of it. But actually, through embodiment work, the way I work is that we don't just get rid of it, we feel it first, and we bring it into our bodies and work with that energy, because a lot of the time these emotions are the things that like can teach you the most about yourself, you know, and can allow you to really step into that place where you can express yourself fully. And I think we so often like mute ourselves, stop ourselves from feeling angry, and when we give ourselves permission to feel those things, magic happens. So the next time you feel angry, you know, let yourself feel angry, get a track on, dance it out. Like, there's a lot we can do to bring that energy. It's not about going around and punching people or whatever. It's actually about you using it and you empowering yourself to do, you know, to work with that energy.
It is really amazing. That's one of the biggest shifts that I had actually on that journey, which I'll share in our interview that we're doing after, because I'm actually going to be on Kerry's live sharing my experience of being one of the goddesses. And that is one of the biggest things, is actually feeling my emotions, because as an NLP coach, in a way, it kind of felt like I have this array of tools. So whenever there was an issue with me, I thought, well, I've got a tool for that. You know, and if I can't do it myself and journal it out or whatever, use a tool on me, I'll get another NLP coach. And we have a few coaches that kind of help us out. Every coach needs a coach. But it was the first time that I felt that I wasn't broken and didn't have something that needed to be fixed. Like, I could actually accept and allow whatever this negative thing was at the time. And that's had a massive impact on everything.
And I've been speaking to a few people, even just today, actually messaging someone, and she was telling me about how she felt and how she wants to try and work on it, get rid of it, do this to it, da 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 da. And I was like, why don't you just accept it? Like, maybe if you just accepted that you felt that way, it would allow it to move. And this is the thing where it comes back to energy again. When we resist feeling a certain way, it gets stuck in our bodies. It can get really stuck and it can come back. So you might do something, get rid of it, but it might come back again. And actually, trying something where you can go, okay, I feel this, and not just doing the embodiment work, but actually owning it in the sense of being able to tell someone, like your partner or even your kids. I mean, I've got a 6-year-old, and if I'm feeling a little bit like, ugh, I just say to her, do you know what? Mum's having a bit of a day, I'm not feeling myself. I just need a bit of space. And I think it's really good for us to teach our younger generation that it's okay to feel not good some days, and it's okay to say, can I have some space please, and create those boundaries. And that's a whole new conversation. But when we start to connect into what we need and how we feel and accept the feelings, then we can try and find the things that we need to meet ourselves. And that could be space, that could be a hug, that could be support from someone, but we have to accept what's coming up for us first.
I think that's a massive point, actually, especially right now where we're at home with our kids and homeschooling, getting their whole array of emotions as well, and dealing with them on their ups and downs, and leading by example that it's okay to have all of these, and that if you do want to use a tool or whatever to not keep it long lasting, you could dance it out or take some breaths or whatever and change your state.
Totally.
Let's go back to that part of your journey then. So you got to the stage where you'd had the Tantra experience and you knew that this is something that you wanted to do. So that's a massive change, leaving like a normal job, and then going into this more slower, more flow, feminine state of being and coaching. What was your life like, and how did the people around you support you or not support you with that transition?
I don't think anyone really didn't support me when I decided to leave my job, and this was before I discovered any of this when I first left it. Like, I knew that I was leaving for a reason, but I didn't really know what that reason was. So when I left work, I was a holistic therapist anyway, so I kind of just went into doing like reflexology and Reiki, all the things that I trained in, thinking that that was the thing that I wanted to do, and then realised that actually spending time in silence all day while my clients were asleep was not serving me, because then my mind was just like whizzing around and I was like, ah. So eventually, when I obviously went on this journey, tantra massage training, which was just over a year training, and then I just started working in that field and obviously working with people, and then I realized that I had so many things to offer to the world, and so many things I wanted to do. I just put a course together, and to be honest, I think, I know my partner Mark, when I initially said I'm leaving my job and I didn't have a job to go to, he was a bit like, what? I'm just like following my heart's yearning or something. I can't remember what I came out with. And he thought I'd lost the plot. My family, they've been a bit of a mixture in terms of what I do. Like, they support me in terms of, they knew I'd be okay and I'd support myself and all that sort of stuff. But I think that they find it a little bit hard to get their head around what I do in the world in terms of talking about sex quite openly. And I don't think it's necessarily just a family thing. I think it is because as a culture, we're just not used to talking about the stuff that I talk about quite openly on Facebook,
When did you become okay to talk about that? And obviously before you had suppressed your own emotions and not even realise the trauma that you'd experienced, when did you firstly accept that for yourself and then be able to talk about it? Because that's a very challenging thing for a lot of people.
Yeah, it was going through the tantra massage training, but also that then led me on to learning more about my sexuality and connecting more into that exploration. So I went to quite a few sexuality festivals and places where I got to do some amazing workshops where I got to release more of the trauma, more of the things that were coming up for me. And I was actually able just to be myself, like whatever that looked like, and be accepted for that. So in the world of in the Tantra sexuality world, there's no such thing as you're not welcome or everything's not welcome. Like, if you've got a fantasy or a desire that you want to do or achieve, you say it and you might get it met, or you might get told no. And it's basically a culture where you're just encouraged just to be yourself and embrace everything that you are. So I had this wild sexual goddess side that I really wanted to explore and understand, like, what was kink all about? What was this all about? And all through this exploration and the things that I did on my journey, it allowed me to feel that freedom. That's what it was. I set myself free from all of the conditioning and all of the things that I told myself that I couldn't be the person I wanted to be. And I remember posting, I think it was like 2 years ago, I posted like a picture of me on Facebook and I was in like a fishnet all in one thing of like a butterfly thing over the top. And I'd been at this festival, and one of the night was, come in full expression of who you want to be or who you are. And so I wore this thing and I thought, yeah, I feel amazing in this. And I had these like butterfly wings on, and it was all about, I felt like I wanted to be free and I wanted to be sexy, and this was a space where I could be that person, and it was like welcomed, totally welcomed. And it didn't mean that I was completely healed, because then I got opportunity to go and do like a body painting thing where I had to stand naked and be body painted live by a beautiful soul, Kelly, who painted me. But I think it was about 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours. I stood there in a thong being painted, and it was beautifully liberating. But my God, I was like petrified, and so much stuff come up about being seen like that, being seen naked. And when you're surrounding yourself though with like people that feel really comfortable being naked, and actually it's just your body, and you see people accepting who they are, all shapes and sizes, I started to realize that my body is just, it's a part of me, but my soul is the part that people fall in love with and that people love. It's not about what size I am. And after years of like having bulimia when I was a child and all that sort of stuff, it just made me realize that no one cares about the way you look. So why don't you let that go?
It's mostly us caring, isn't it, inside ourselves, and comparing to other people. So it's amazing that you had this group of people who felt that way. Most people in society don't feel that way or don't express it that way.
Yeah, or don't. If it's always about, this is why this acceptance piece is so important, because I speak to so many people that have all these desires, have all these things that they want to do in their life, but they're never ever acknowledging it or meeting it or accepting it. And the thing is, it's like, I'm in a long-term relationship, and it didn't mean that I wasn't able to go and explore and go to these festivals. I still did that with the consent, with the boundaries, with the things that we created as a relationship, and we did it. And if someone had said to me 3 years ago, I'll be able to go off and do these kink workshops and different things like that, and being in a long-term relationship, I thought, what? But actually, it's made me realize that it takes a lot of different relationships to make the world go round, yeah? And there's lots of different things that people do that you're not even aware of behind closed doors. And actually, what do you want? What do you want out of your life? What do you want out of your relationship? And what is stopping you from going there? Because those are the bits that you need to work on. Those are the bits you need to lean into.
And how does this like sexual expression have a knock-on effect on all the other areas of your life, showing up as your true self?
Oh, everything, because just things like, especially in my business has gone from strength to strength, because like, and I know you say this a lot, but I do lead, because if I can't show up, in my vulnerability, if I can't show up in my full expression, then how can I expect my goddesses to come on a journey with me? Like, and that's what I live and breathe, to inspire people, and I inspire people through my showing up. So, and don't get me wrong, like, there's sometimes I've put posts out and I've been felt physically sick as I pressed the post button, because I know it's like really vulnerable, but it's almost like I get this like calling from above that says, like, you need to do this, Kerry, like, you need to post this. This is not just, it's never just for me, yeah, it's for there's always someone out there that needs to read that post, and that keeps me going, and that's the reason why I do it. So it has absolutely impacted that. It's absolutely changed my relationship with Mark and how we communicate. It's changed my relationship as a mother, because I've met myself and I've connected to myself in a way that I've never done, and it's made me a better mum, because I'm happier in myself. So it's impacted everything. Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about the polarities, the masculine and feminine energy, and how that works?
In what respect? What do you want to talk about? Just in terms of the different
I was thinking you were talking about your relationship, and then I was thinking about energy and all the work that you do, and I thought, if you could explain to people about the masculine and feminine side. I've been hearing a lot about that lately with all the Tony Robbins stuff going on, and you talk about the masculine and feminine within each of us, not just in your relationship.
Yeah, so I spent my whole life in the masculine energy, which is a kind of doing energy, doing, pushing, but not in a necessarily a bad way, but just getting the job done way. And so there's many women out there at the moment that are kind of, and have done for generations, have been in this kind of masculine mode, because we've kind of taken over in the more traditional sense of what a female would do. Yeah. So quite often as women, we end up being in the masculine. So what happens is we just end up being in that doing role, and we forget the essence of being feminine. And the feminine, in a real nutshell, is about the flowing, like flowing, going with the flow, like being playful and just like being, as opposed to doing. Yeah. So I bet there's many of you people are going to hear this who are women who are like, I'm definitely more in my masculine. And actually it's a dance, because it's about, once we understand masculine and feminine energy, it's like, okay, where do I need to be today? What do I need to step into? And I know, like, I'm very aware now, because I'm so in touch with my feminine now, but when I go into masculine, it feels a little bit uncomfortable when I'm too much in my masculine. But sometimes I need to be in that place, because if I've got loads to do and I need to get stuff done, I need to be in that masculine. And if I'm too far into that, then there's almost like a bit of a scream internally going, whoa, Kerry, connect into your feminine, into your being, get some music on, get into your body and feel, and that's more of the feminine energy. So it is a dance. So, but what happens, just to talk a little bit to the relationships, when you're in relationship with someone, or even in a friendship, it's not necessarily about a romantic relationship, it's also a dance. So if one of you's more masculine, and the other one's feminine, it can work potentially, depending on if the other person, if you both start being masculine, that's where the clashes come. Yeah. And that's where,
when you're both feminine.
Oh, when you're both feminine, yeah. You either get nothing done, or you're both feminine, you're both in the flow, and then one of you has to then step up to drive things forward. But if you're both in the masculine, that's what happened when I first got together with Mark. Because in my last relationship, I was in my masculine energy totally. Got into a relationship with Mark, he was used to being totally in his masculine, and we both was fighting for the control of the relationship, like, whose role is this, and then, now I've kind of gone into my feminine, but I love being looked after, and I love someone else taking charge, because that's what always been my default.
So talking a little bit about the masculine and men, because you work with women and goddesses, but I know you've done some other stuff, some lives, and you have a load of people on there, and there are some men in there. So what are the men taking from the work that you do, and do you work with men separately as well?
I've worked with men, like if they're friends or partners. I don't tend to work with men I don't know, just because just the whole energy around this world that I'm in, I think people just misinterpret the work that I do. So I generally just work with men that I know or recommended to me. And I think the working with men is extremely powerful. I loved it. So when I did all my Tantra massage training, working with that masculine energy is so powerful, and mainly because they're not used to stepping into their feminine quite often. Yeah. And it's just so beautiful and powerful to watch a man really connecting to his emotions and connecting to that feeling piece, and also into the piece where they don't have to do anything and they can just completely surrender into receiving and into like being who they want to be, rather than having all these conditions and things placed on them, because they have so many conditions. Men don't cry, and I know we're in a movement now where, especially in my world, there's so much support now for men in support groups and things like that. And I would say to any men around this, is, for me, like anyone that's listening, it's all about like listening to yourself and your emotions, and how can you meet yourself with what you might need. And so it's about removing that stigma that you can't reach out for support, and you can't like feel angry or feel annoyed. And so quite often I think there's a bit of I'm finding it with my stepson, really, because he's younger, but like when they start to grow up, there's so much power almost in the masculine and in your way of being, that sometimes it's a little bit intimidating for men to realize their power that they have as well. But it all comes back down to the acknowledgement of like, what is going on in me, what do I need, what do I feel, and what do I want in my life. So yeah, I don't do specific work with men, but I work with couples, which is also quite interesting, because obviously when you work with couples, you get onto calls with couples, and you can clearly see straight away, like, as I say, who wears the trousers. But it does, and it's about getting that balance right in order for you to really connect.
Well, whoever brought them to the session, so probably the woman.
Yeah, it normally is. That's why a lot of the time it's followed on from like the goddess program and stuff, because it's normally like when the woman's done all the work, now she's like, right, I need to talk about the relationship now.
Chris. So a lot of what you do is about journeys, and you take people on a journey. So, and you've explained a little bit about yours to where you are now. So what's the next stage in your journey?
So I've got such an exciting year coming up. So I'm just in the midst of writing my book. So I'm really excited about that. And I don't know the name of it yet, but I've been writing it for probably just over a year and not got very far. But now I've got a book coach and a publisher, editor, everything, the whole shebang. And I'm hoping to have a book out by the summer. So it'll be like one of the summer reads, hopefully. So that's like my focus for this year, is writing my book. And also just getting onto more stages, virtual stages, to get this message out there into the world. I've got big visions about, you know, wanting to be on Loose Women, which I talk about quite a lot, but I want to be in a place where I can reach as many people as possible. And this is why I'm getting my book written, because I love to inspire and I love to make a difference to people's lives. And I feel like with a book, I'm going to be able to get to more people. So that's my focus, as well as concentrating on my goddess and couples programs, which are all coming out throughout the year. So that's, it's keeping me busy.
So is there anything else that you wanted to leave us with before we let everyone know how they can contact you and find out more?
I suppose just a connection exercise, just to leave you with something that you can actually do for yourself. And we did it at the beginning, just taking a breath. And it seems like such an alien concept, just to go, well, breathe. And they're like, well, we always breathe. But it's about breathing in a conscious way. So like being aware of your breath. So in order, like the first step in any awakening and any journey, for you to really understand who you are, what you feel, and just checking in with yourself, is just to take a breath. So just to sit there, get comfy. You can do it, Nicola.
Oh, really?
Get comfy, and put your feet on the ground is always ideal, because it's really nice. It makes you feel secure and grounded. And then just taking a few breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. And when you do it, really allowing yourself to exhale. So I'll do it and you'll hear me and you'll think, oh, she's loud, but this is how I do it. And then one more. And as your body begins to settle, just checking in with yourself, you know, how am I today? How am I? And what do I need? What do I need at the moment? And just bringing awareness to whatever's coming up and whatever your body's saying. Because whatever's there is what your body and your mind, whatever it is that's talking to you, is trying to say. And it could be really simple things like a cup of tea, I'm thirsty, or I'm hungry, my belly's rumbling, or I feel tired, or I've got a headache. You know, whatever it is, just acknowledge it and just bring your awareness to it for a moment. And then just take a couple of breaths into that, into what you've just felt. And then one more. When you're ready, just to wriggle your hand and your feet, roll your shoulders, give yourself a little stretch. And that's it, basically. To do that like a few times a day. And when I tell clients that I start working with, like, to do that a few times a day, it honestly feels like the biggest mountain to climb, because sometimes
it's so much easier when you're there.
I know, everyone always says that. But you just got to imagine that I'm there going, have you breathed?
Might be like,
the breath.
Then you've got mummy.
Yeah, but this is where you need to state your boundaries. This is where you need to say, well, mummy's just about to go and do a few breathing. It takes less than a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
You know, find that time for yourself. Exactly. Get them involved. It's the best thing. So, yeah.
But just to say thank you for that breath, and it's nice to finish the same way we started. But it reminded me actually of your podcast that you did. And are you going to be doing any more? Because I really enjoyed them.
Yeah, so they're all on my website. So it's I was actually a radio presenter with Serenity Radio, and I did loads of like shows on there. So they're actually under my on my website under my free resources, so you can listen to them all on there. So
if anyone wants to try a bit of Kerry's coaching for free, then go and check out their podcast.
Yeah, it's all on there.
Talk to you about something, and then you do an exercise like that, so you actually get it.
And I'm going to create my own one at one point, but this is on the list. So my website is kerryosullivan.co.uk. So on there you can read about the stuff that I do, the programs, the Goddess Awakening, the couples one that I do. And yeah, you can sign up for my newsletter. I've got a weekly newsletter, so you can sign up for that and you can hear about what I do then.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on, Kerry.
Thank you.
I'll see you on the other side when I'm in the hot seat.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.